So weaponize your audience is a really interesting commandment. It really comes down to finding the people that love your brand and then empowering them to basically love your brand out loud, to kind of spread that love to others. We talk a lot about word of mouth and how powerful it can be for marketing. You know, word of mouth recommendations from friend and family are 4 to 5 times more effective than TV and print advertising. So if you can get people to advocate for your brand, it's going to be good for you in the long run. But there's been this sort of thought for a long time that it's hard to generate word of mouth. It's hard to create that word of mouth. And we're seeing brands be a little more intentional in how they generate that word of mouth. And we call it weaponizing your audience. It's giving your audience, whether it's something like, you know, stickers on a messaging app, or maybe it's GIFs, or it's their own channel somewhere that they can, you know, have conversations that they're unable to have in other places.
Or access to exclusive content that no one else is going to get. You're rewarding that loyalty.
Just giving them assets that are more shareable and more instantly word of mouthable, for lack of a better term. You know, we're seeing brands do this in a really interesting way, and when they do it, it generates great effect. You know, there's also a stat that has been found that people that are referred by word of mouth are 37% more sticky. They stick around 30% more, 30% longer than others. And so actually, once you get people in through this word of mouth funnel, there's lower churn, and it's kind of this virtuous cycle. So figuring out ways to weaponize your audience and give them things that they can then share to kind of build the fame and the buzz around your brand is a really powerful mechanic.
Maybe we should have called our company Word of Mouthable instead of Contagious.
I don't think so.
No, but Chris is absolutely right. And I think one of the examples we talk about in the book that we think, you know, is, again, it points to the future of where marketing's heading is Adidas, or Adidas if you're American. And they've done some really interesting stuff around this. They have things called tango squads, where they've identified, and it's in the hundreds, it's a small group of people who they feel are really kind of influential in their fields. So when something like a new soccer boot, football boot comes out, rather than kind of getting big, expensive Premier League players to advertise it, where I think people are now a little bit suspicious about these kind of, like, you know, influencers that are famous and celebs, because they're just going to endorse things for the sake of it, for their bank balance. So what Adidas have done is, rather than necessarily going for the big stars, they've looked at things like Premier League academy players. So these kids that are really authentic, that have built up a natural kind of audience on Instagram and so on, and they'll use them to help come and help design the boot and what it looks like, and build a community around the actual products, but then also allow them to then share the content exclusively, to have codes that people can only buy the boots if they've got codes, but the codes originate with this very small group of people, and you kind of explode exponentially through contagious kind of word of mouth, as you say.
Yeah, it's about taking consumers and moving them away from just receptors and receiving the messaging, and instead turning them into distributors, turning them into media, and helping them. I think one great example that we've seen is from Domino's, and also from Xbox, with a little bit of a sales component to them. So Xbox did it with personalized controllers. Domino's did it with a program called Pizza Mogul with pizzas, but basically fans of the brands could design their own controller or pizza and then promote it on social media, sell it to their friends essentially, and actually get a cut of the profits. So Xbox did this with personalized controllers. They saw a 350% increase in sales. I think the top earner in the program made more than $1,000. Same thing with Pizza Mogul for Domino's in Australia. They had people making $10,000 selling
themselves
pizza.
through college,
you know.
practically.
And if you can do that and have somebody advertise your brand at the same time, you know, it's sort of this Mobius strip, this virtuous cycle where everybody's helping everybody.
Yeah, quid pro quo.
Yeah.
But I think it's what Adidas talk about, an eye-to-eye relationship between a brand and a consumer, and we think that that's the future of where advertising is heading. Because if you have an eye-to-eye relationship, you're looking someone directly in the eye, you cannot hide.